Critical Role Campaign 4 is upon us. How exciting. Less than a month away. So let's talk about the things that I would like to see. And we're going to start with characters, because player characters are some of the best parts of Critical Role. So I want to talk about what we've seen and what I think we should see next. And we're going to start with the CEO of Critical Role, Travis Willingham. So what has Travis played so far that we know of in campaigns? Now, I know that there's been a lot of other things happening, and we know that some other characters have come into campaigns, maybe, but we want to talk about specifically what has he played in the campaign, what does that mean he hasn't played, and what do I hope that he plays. So first off, we have seen Travis play, obviously, Grog, the Barbarian. We saw him play Ford, who was the Warlock Paladin, Hexadin, if you will. And we saw him play Chetney Pockeby, the Rogue. Did he multi-class? Hold on, let's look it up. Of course he did. He's a Rogue Blood Hunter. I should have known he's a Blood Hunter. Anyways, so that means that so far, Travis has not played a full caster once. So what do I hope he does? I hope he plays a full caster. What does that mean? I don't think he'll play a sorcerer. We just had 2 sorcerers in campaign 3. It's possible that he'd play sorcerer, but I don't think that's the way he goes. He could play a cleric, Travis, as far as I don't think he's ever played anything on stream as a cleric. I got to look that up. The Adventures of the Darrington Brigade, he did play a cleric, but he's never played a cleric other than that. So I think that's maybe a way that he goes, but I want to see Travis play a wizard. I think that would be a very fun character. I think that he gets to lean into his investigative desires. Like we see him do this occasionally. And I think it'd even be fun if he crazy, I know, but multi-classed into Rogue and had that going on. So will that happen? I don't know, but that's what I want to see. And we'll see more come October 2nd. All right. The next player that I want to talk about is Laura freaking Bailey. Now, of course, Laura has some of the most iconic characters, the most iconic moments in Critical Role. Mainly, it's Jester, let's just be honest. But from Lady Vexalia de Rolo, the Ranger Rogue, to Jester Lavore, the Trickster Cleric, to Imogen Tumult, the Storm Sorcerer, Laura's characters are just amazing. What does that mean? Laura has yet to play a full martial character. So what do I want to see? I want to see Laura play a martial character. Now, in 5th edition, 2024, there are 4 full martial characters. There is the Barbarian, there is the Monk, there is the Rogue, and the Fighter. I don't think she's going to play a fighter. Somebody will play a fighter amongst the 13, but I don't think it's going to be Laura. I guess the 12, because are we counting Brennan? Anyways, that's not important. I don't think that she's going to play a fighter. I don't think that she'll play a Barbarian. I don't think that Laura's play style is Barbarian-esque. Now, it's possible, but I do think that the party will include a Barbarian, but I don't think that it will be Laura. I think that Rogue is a possibility. We know that Laura wanted to play a Rogue in campaign 1, but didn't because of Liam. But that does leave Monk. We've only seen 1 Monk in the 3 campaigns, Beauregard, Lionette. I think that what we will see is Laura playing a Monk. And I think Way of the Drunken Master, whatever that's called, is the Monk that Laura will play. Okay, so we're back. Video 3, talking about campaign 4 player characters. Now, I know that when I talked about Travis, I talked about him playing a cleric in the Darrington Brigade, but I only said that to mention that, yes, sometimes, or he has played a full caster on screen. That doesn't mean, though, that I'm considering those as part of the conversation, right? So Travis hasn't played a full caster in a campaign. I want to see him play a wizard because that's something I haven't seen. Laura hasn't played a full martial character, just a pure martial character. So that's why I want to see her play a monk. She has played a monk, as someone commented, but that's not the same thing as being a monk in the campaign. So I want to see her play a monk. Next is Marisha Ray. And I want to see Marisha play a barbarian, right? Of course, Keyleth, iconic character, just so unsure of themselves. And as we watch Keyleth grow into who she is in campaign 2 and then in campaign 3, it's just phenomenal. Then you also get one of my favorite characters in Critical Role, Beauregard Lionett. Just the ability to watch Marisha go to town when combat is happening. It's just so much fun. You don't get a single strike, but you get a bunch in a row. And then Laudna is just a great character. A lot of fun. Marisha got to role play a ton. From a D&D perspective, it wasn't her strongest character. I do think from a D&D perspective that Beauregard Lionett was. But that doesn't take away anything from Laudna because she's just so integral to the story and just such a great character. All of that said, though, I want to see Marisha play a barbarian. I want to see her just go to town on someone. You know, there's a bunch of different subclasses. I don't know if I would be able to pick one specifically. Maybe leaning into the druid feel. I don't remember which one that is. I'll put it up on the screen maybe. But that's what I want to see. I want to see Marisha play a barbarian. Let us know in the comments what you think. Okay, day 4, talking about campaign 4. So far, we've talked about the player characters, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, Marisha Ray. If you want to go see those, you definitely can go check those out. And today we're going to talk about Liam O'Brien. Liam, of course, plays the amazing Vax'ildan, Rogue Paladin in Campaign 1. In Campaign 2, Caleb Wittagast, amazing backstory that Matt weaves in so beautifully to Campaign 2. Just such a good story and a good ending for him as well. And then finally in Campaign 3, we get Orym of the Arashari. Once again, Liam, great backstory. We're seeing this as something Liam does really well. He gives his GMs such a good backstory. And that leads me to what I think Liam should play in Campaign 4, and that is a cleric. Now, why do I think he should play a cleric? First off, he's only played one full caster, so this gives him an opportunity to do that again. His backstories are just out of this world, and I just can't imagine that in Brennan's world, where the gods and the deities and the pantheon just don't exist in the same way they did in Exandria, that Liam isn't going to be able to play into that and have just such a good time playing off of Brennan and what that's going to look like. So I want to see Liam play a cleric, and more specifically, I would like to see Liam play a Tempest cleric. I think that's a fun one, and I think Liam would have fun with that as well. So that's what I would love to see him play. Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. We'll find out in less than a month now. But all right, day 5, time for the 5th character in this series. So far, we have talked about Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, Marisha Ray, Liam O'Brien, and today, Ashley Johnson. Now, I want to say that Pike, great character, Yasha, wonderful. Both of them felt underdeveloped. Obviously, with Ashley filming Blind Spot, it was great when she was there. Yasha was a fun character. Pike, just so much goodness, and just her and Grog's relationship, phenomenal. So it's always great to see Ashley play those characters, but it's hard to have any sort of feeling other than, man, Fern Calloway was a breakout character for Ashley. She got to be at the table the whole time, and we just got to see Ashley just be amazing with Fern Calloway. So while, yes, we've had these other characters, I think that we got to kind of go off of who Ashley feels like and that little bit of wildness. And so here are the things that I think I would like to see Ashley play. And there's going to be 2 of them, and it's going to depend on someone else as well. So I think the 2 characters I'd like to see Ashley play are either a College of Eloquence bard. I think that that would be fun to see Ashley play a high charisma character that is actually high charisma, not like Fern. And then the other one I think I'd like to see is her play a sorcerer. Obviously, both high charisma characters, so I think you kind of feel where I'm going. I think Ashley should lean into that. I think it'd be a lot of fun in this campaign. So either a College of Eloquence bard or a sorcerer of some sort. Now, obviously, there's so many different sorcerers. I think that she would excel at any of them. And so one of those 2 I think would be really fun. Let's see what we get, but that's what I'd like to see. All right, day 6, talking about Critical Role characters for Campaign 4. And today I want to talk about Taliesin Jaffe. Of course, Taliesin plays, once again, some amazing characters from Percival has a long last name, middle name DeRollo, to Molly Mott Tea Leaf, who was gone way too soon. If only he'd come back in some way. Anyways, and then from there to Caduceus, one of the best one-liner. It's not even a one-liner. It's like a monologue of that ends to Trent. I hope you find someone who will mourn you when you're gone. Respectfully. Oh, such a great moment. And then, of course, Ashton. Ashton's just fun. And the way that Taliesin played Ashton in that campaign was just beautiful, and it was fun to watch. And watching Taliesin and Ashley go back and forth was great. It just, that whole part of that campaign was wonderful. And then just to see him play a barbarian who could just go in there and mess things up, it was great. Now, yesterday, I did mention that I think it would be fun to see Ashley play a College of Eloquence bard. But the reason I kind of hemmed and hawed on that is because I actually think Taliesin would play a great College of Eloquence bard. Think about that line that Caduceus gives to Trent, and imagine that being the character. That it is just wordplay. It is slicing people up with those. I think that would be fun to watch. And I think Taliesin has a unique talent to be able to do that. Not that anyone else couldn't, but I think Taliesin just has a little bit of an edge in the way that he talks and the way that he speaks. So I want to see like a blending of Percy and that bravado and Caduceus and the wisdom into one character. And that's what I want to see Taliesin play for campaign 4. All right, we're back. We have 2 cast members of the original cast left, Matt Mercer, and today's topic, Sam Riegel. Sam has the most characters across anyone in the cast across the campaigns. Of course, we have Scanlan Shortalt and Taryon Darrington. And then in campaign 2, we have Not the Brave and Veth Bernardo, although those really count as one, kind of. And then in campaign 4, Fresh Cut Grass and Breus Doomseed. Now, of all of those characters, Sam's leavings are always the best. I mean, you can't watch Fresh Cut Grass go out in a blaze of glory and not tear up a little bit. You can't watch What Is My Mother's Name without feeling some kind of something. And then Grog, like, what is your mother's name? Like, come on. It's heart-wrenching. But I think Sam should lean into a different class this time and play a druid. Now, I don't know if Sam's ever played a druid in a side quest. Obviously, he's never played one in the main campaign. And druids seem to be a class that the cast likes in general, both Keyleth and Fern. And so I think if we got that, it'd be a lot of fun. And to top it all off, I don't know what circle he should be, but just like we had Minxie with Keyleth, we should have a favorite thing that Sam's druid transforms into. And that favorite thing should be, you say it with me, a bear. That's right, a bear. And of course, just to mess with his fellow cast members, which is exactly what we want to see out of Sam Riegel. Okay, it is day 8, talking about Critical Role player characters. Final day of the original founding cast, and we are looking at Mark Mercer. That's right. Now, Matt has played a bunch of NPCs, right? That's what you do when you're the forever GM. Forever GM no more, yes, but that's what you do. He said Allura has been kind of like his way of putting himself into campaign 1 a little bit as a wizard. In Legend of Vox Machina, he plays so many guards. And that's always a funny Easter egg to be like, spot Matt in this episode. I think, though, that what Matt should play, and what I want to see him play more than anything else, is an artificer. Now, I know that like feels a little maybe cheesy, but I just think that Matt would enjoy it so much. And if Matt's enjoying it, we're going to enjoy it. I think Matt playing an artificer, being able to buff himself, buff his fellow players, I think that's something he would really enjoy doing. And as we talk, we're going to talk more about, in the West March's style. I understand it's not a West March specifically, but in the style, there's going to be different tables. So I want to talk about where Matt's going to fit. And I think an artificer gives him the most opportunities to be at any table, but also pick the table that he wants to be at. So that's it. That's all our player characters. As we go forward, we'll talk about a few more things. There's a lot more to talk about with Critical Role. And before we get to the additional cast, the extra 5 players that we're working with, I want to look at my predictions for Campaign 3. That's right. That many years ago, I made predictions for Campaign 3. Let's look at those, look at how they kind of turned out, and maybe get a glimpse of how I might do this time. Okay, we're at the part of the series where you're like, I don't know, this guy seems like he might be full of it, which, that's fair. That's fair. I'm hoping that my opinions have given you some reason to think that I'm not crazy. But if that's not you and you're like, I don't know, let's see what has happened before, I present to you this graphic. Now, this image it's got the timestamp, it's got everything. So these were the predictions I made way before Campaign 3 started. I say way before. It might have been, like a month before. I can't remember when Campaign 3 started, but I did make it before, and I don't know if it was before they started shooting. So take that into account. We're going to start with the bottom 2, because if you'll notice, I got them switched. I thought Marisha would play a barbarian, and I thought that Taliesin would play a warlock. Obviously, I got those backward. I think that's part of the reason, like deep down, I haven't looked at this recently. This is I brought it back up for this. That's kind of why I want Marisha to play a barbarian. I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, it's the previous pick, so it kind of makes sense. So after the bottom 2, I have Travis as a battle master, or a Kinsable. We're going to go with battle master, which of course Liam plays. I have Liam as a cleric, which is of course what Sam plays. I have Sam as a sorcerer, which is of course what Laura plays. I have Laura as a druid, which is of course what Ashley plays. And I have Ashley as a paladin, which of course no one plays. I didn't throw rogue in there, which is what Chetney is. He's a rogue blood hunter. I feel pretty good about that since I had Travis as a fighter, so maybe that counts. But you can see, I understand how the classes are put together. I get what they're trying to do there. And I know that they just came out with a list that said there were a lot of bards. I'm going to ignore that. And I want to come back to it maybe later, but for now, I'm just going to be like, yeah, I'm sure it's a thing, but I'm sticking by my predictions. So that's why you should trust what I have out there, because I'm not crazy. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Okay. So we've seen the OG cast. We saw what I predicted last time. So now you know, like, I'm not a crazy person. Well, I am a crazy person, but I'm a crazy person who at least thinks about these things and understands how Dungeons & Dragons works. So now I want to talk about Robbie Daymond, aka Dorian. Now, Robbie comes in, plays a great character in EXU. And then, of course, when we get to the campaign, he sticks around, and it's a lot of fun to see him in the game. And then they bring him back, his bard, his relationship with Liam. Just everything in there is just beautiful, and Robbie does such a good job of playing that character. It's hard to play a bard, as most of you might know, and it's really refreshing to see someone come in and play a bard very well, and to do so with the charisma that it entails for the cast. So what do I want to see him play next? Well, I think the best thing for him to play next would be a paladin. If you remember from yesterday, that list did include the fact that I thought some people were going to play paladin and they didn't, which I'm still sad about, that we never have just had a full paladin in the cast. So I think Robbie would play a really good paladin. And what I want to see this paladin devoted to is humanity, or humanoids, or however you want to say people in this sense, right? Not just humans as a species or race in Dungeons and Dragons, but anyone that is humanoid, that Robbie just loves those individuals, whoever his character is. So kind of like that druid feel, but in the sense that they love nature, and then that's where they draw their power from. But I want to see that played in a paladin, and more specifically because of the way that Brennan's world is developed. It's not that the gods are giving him his power, but it's Robbie's love of his fellow people is what's giving him that power. And he has that high strength. So he's got a high charisma, high strength, and that feeds into who he is. He loves people, and that's where he's going. I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch. I think it'd be a lot of fun for Robbie to flesh out that character, and that's what I want to see him do. Today, we're going to talk about Abria Iyengar in Campaign 4. One of my favorite additions so far. I've loved Abria for a long time. I think that she's just a wonderful player, and I think my favorite thing that Abria has ever done has been on Outvoted in Game Changer. Like, that was just so much fun. If you haven't watched that, you should definitely go watch that. I feel like the Critical Role dropout crossover is probably pretty strong though. Anyways, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Also, Bria plays Liren in Calamity, Brennan's intro to DMing at Critical Role, which was also a lot of fun. I think what Brennan gets with Bria is a character that a player that he knows and trusts as part of the creation process. They've worked together, obviously, in Calamity. She's been on D20. It's just a comfortable scene. I think what that means is that Abria is going to play a fighter. Now, I know that that's kind of like a vanilla character, but as far as like Dungeons and Dragons classes go, but I think that is what gives Brennan the most ability to play with it, is that it's going to be a character that they can work together with as they go through. Now, I think the same thing can be said of Wizard, which is what Liren is in Calamity. Like, that's a very basic character. It's a spellcaster, and it can be difficult to play, but you know what you're getting into when you are playing with a wizard. And I think that that's what we're going to get with Abria and a fighter, is that it's just going to be baseline. And Abria's, let's try that again. Abria's ability to play a character is going to shine in the way that she plays that fighter. So let's keep going, and we'll see who we have next. Day, who knows what? I think it's like 10, maybe 11. I don't know. Not important right now. Luis Carrazzo. He's up next. I'm not as familiar with Luis. Okay. My nerd cred is in serious jeopardy here. I totally understand that. I absolutely loved his character in Calamity. And because I didn't know much about Luis, I looked him up online, as you do. And now I know, I think I knew this already, but now I know for sure that he was a part of the first home game that Marisha played in. And in Calamity, he's a paladin. Obviously, I don't know if that's something that we need more of. Paladin's kind of a class where if you get one of them, you really have enough. In this case, though, I think that he's going to default to his favorite class. And yes, I found this on the Critical Role wiki. That's Bard. Now, why do I say that? One, it's his favorite class. So if you're going to come in and play a long form game that is going to last a while, you're going to want to play something that you enjoy. That's important. You might die as that player character, but at least you get to play it and enjoy it while it's there. Second, I know I didn't start this as early as I should have, which I don't know. It feels like they announced it pretty close to like 3 months, whereas we knew about Campaign 4 a little bit more. Anyways, all that aside, we know that there's going to be multiple bards, that Bard is going to be a character, at least from what they said. So I think Luis playing a Bard, his favorite character, being another member of the Bard community, the Bardic community, maybe. I think that that's exactly what we're going to see from Luis, is a Bard. I might be wrong, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. Everyone, we have 2 player characters left. 2 player characters left. And today we are going to be talking about Alexander Ward. We've talked about the OG cast, the 3 people who have been on Critical Role before. But as far as I know, Alexander Ward has never actually been at the table. That's crazy. So it's really exciting to see new people. I know he's a voice actor. He's done a lot of good work. And people are excited to see him at the table. I don't know much about Alexander's work, but I think he's going to be a great addition to the table. So what do I think Alexander should play? That's a great question. I am glad that you asked. And we're missing a rogue. We don't have a rogue. I think that would be a great player for Alexander to play. Now, do I know what they're going to play based on the characters? No, because I haven't looked at them. The only one I've seen is Sam's, and I don't think it matches my prediction, which is going to suck. But I think that overall, I haven't looked at them because I don't want to know. I want to keep myself fresh as I'm going through these and thinking about them. But yeah, I think Alexander should play a rogue. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And tomorrow we will do Whitney, and then we're going to break into what do I think they're going to do with their soldiers, seekers, and schemers after that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy. Can't wait to get to it. Friends, we have made it. We're talking about the last player character in Campaign 4, Whitney Moore. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who Whitney is. I have no nerd cred. I have Critical Role cred, but I have no nerd cred. Zip zero nada. So, with that being said, I think Whitney should play a cleric. Now, I know that I already have Liam pegged as a cleric. I think that we need a second cleric in the party. 13 people over 3 different tables. I think you're going to need another cleric, at least in one of them. I know druids can heal. I know bards can heal. I get it. But I also think that you just need another cleric who's going to go with one of those groups. So I think that Whitney will play a cleric and Liam will play a cleric, and we'll divide them up that way. There it is. We did it. All 8 plus 5, total of 13 characters. And we got everybody pegged. Now, am I right? Probably not. I've seen some of the art. I don't think I got them all right, but we will come back to the art on October 7th. We'll talk more about what exactly is happening and why they chose the characters they chose and how much I was off. I think that's going to be a fun exercise because I really enjoy that.